Imagine you're walking through a forest. Not a tourist trail. Not the kind of place families visit on weekends. A real forest. Dense. Silent. Ancient. The trees around you are so thick that sunlight barely reaches the ground. Every step crunches against dead leaves. Every breath hangs in the cold air. You check your phone. No signal. A few minutes later, the battery dies. It was fully charged, you're thinking to yourself. Your flashlight begins flickering. Then your compass starts spinning. Slowly at first, then wildly. And that's when you hear it. Footsteps. Not in front of you, not behind you, around you. As if something is circling through the trees, watching, waiting. You stop walking. The footsteps stop too. You listen carefully, trying to figure out where they're coming from. Then somewhere in the darkness, you hear laughter. Tonight, we are going to talk about HOIA BACIU Forest, the place many people call the most haunted forest on Earth. Welcome to the podcast You Can't Unhear. The HOIA BACIU Forest sits just outside Cluj-Napoca, a city in Transylvania, Romania. And yes, the same Transylvania most people associate with vampires, castles, and folklore. The forest covers roughly 250 hectares, and at first glance, it looks beautiful. But spend enough time looking, and you start noticing things that don't seem right. The trees twist unnaturally. Their trunks spiral and bend. Many grow in corkscrew-like shapes. Some appear to have been twisted by enormous, invisible hands. Scientists have examined them, and strangely, the trees are healthy. No disease. No obvious explanation. Yet they continue growing in shapes that look almost painful. Like the forest itself is twisted from something. The forest gets its name from an old legend. A shepherd named HOIA BACIU supposedly entered the woods with 200 sheep and never came back. No bodies. No tracks. No wool. No signs of a struggle. Nothing. 200 sheep. One shepherd. Gone. And according to local stories, that wasn't the last disappearance. But the strangest part of the forest isn't the trees. It's what sits in the middle. A perfect clearing. A circular patch of land surrounded by dense forest. And for reasons nobody can explain, nothing grows there. No trees. No bushes. No vegetation. Nothing. Imagine standing in a forest filled with life, then suddenly stepping into a circle where nature simply stops. Scientists have tested the soil repeatedly. Maybe it was contaminated. Maybe it lacked nutrients. Maybe there was some unusual chemical composition. But every test came back with the same answer. Normal. The soil is normal. Almost identical to the surrounding forest. Which raises a simple question. If everything is normal, why does nothing grow there? Locals call it the clearing. Others call it something else. A doorway. For decades, HOIA BACIU remained mostly a local legend. Then, in 1968, something happened. A military technician named Emil Barnea entered the forest. While near the clearing, he claimed to see a strange object hovering above the trees. A large silver disc, floating silently in the air. He managed to take photographs. The images spread quickly, and suddenly, HOIA BACIU wasn't just a haunted forest anymore. It became one of Europe's most famous UFO hotspots. The timing made the story even stranger. Romania was under communist rule. People weren't rewarded for claiming they saw UFOs. If anything, such claims could damage your reputation, your career, your future. Yet, Emil never changed his story. And even today, the photographs continue fueling debate. Then came August 18th, 1999. 5 young men entered the forest, hoping to experience the paranormal stories for themselves. At first, everything seemed normal. Then, the temperature dropped. Suddenly, violently. Phones began dying. Flashlights flickered. Compasses spun in circles. Even their cameras started malfunctioning. One by one, their equipment became useless. The deeper they went, the worse it got. Then they heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Moving between the trees. Following them. Whenever they turned around, there was nothing there. Then came whispers. Then laughter. Not loud. Not close. Just enough to make them wonder if they had really heard it. Then shadows appeared. Dark shapes moving between the trees. Far too fast to be human. One man became dizzy. Then another. Then another. One felt something scratch his hand. But when he looked down, nothing was touching him. And despite walking for what felt like only a short time, darkness suddenly began falling. The forest seemed larger than before, almost as if it didn't want them leaving. When they finally escaped and reached the forest's edge, everything returned to normal instantly. The dizziness, nausea, and scratches disappeared. All their electronic devices started working perfectly again, despite having nearly dead batteries moments before. Today, thousands of visitors travel to HOIA BACIU every year. And strangely, many describe similar experiences. Not identical, but close enough to make people uncomfortable. Electronic failures, sudden nausea, headaches, anxiety, the feeling of being watched. Some report seeing figures between the trees. Others claim they've photographed shapes that weren't visible when the picture was taken. One blogger, Sophie Buchan, documented her camping experience in the forest. She and her guide Alex heard loud giggling sounds on their first night. Sounds like a large horse or deer. But nothing was there when they investigated. The next night, Alex slept in a hammock to get closer to the source of the sounds, but instead caught glimpses of strange shadows moving between the trees. There are also stories of floating lights. Stories of strange voices. Stories of people hearing their own names being called from deep inside the forest. One paranormal investigator described hearing footsteps following him for nearly 20 minutes. Whenever he stopped, the footsteps stopped. Whenever he walked, they returned. He never saw anyone. One of the most famous legends involves a little girl. According to the story, she disappeared during a picnic inside the forest. Search teams looked everywhere. Nothing. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Then, years. 5 years later, she supposedly reappeared in the exact same spot, wearing the same clothes, looking exactly the same age, and claiming only a few moments had passed. There's no solid evidence this happened, but people still tell the story. Because in HOIA BACIU, the line between folklore and reality becomes blurry very quickly. Maybe there's a scientific explanation. Maybe there isn't. Maybe the twisted trees, the electronics failures, the photographs, the footsteps, the shadows, the clearing are all separate mysteries. Or maybe they're connected. The truth is, nobody knows. Scientists still can't explain the twisted trees and why nothing grows inside the clearing. Visitors still report strange experiences. And every year, new people walk into the forest hoping to discover what's really there. Most leave with a story. Some leave with photographs. And some leave convinced they weren't alone. If you ever visit HOIA BACIU, bring a flashlight, bring a friend, and maybe mark your path. Because you never know where the forest will lead you to. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.